Hello,
Hey,
Chris.
Chris.
Hey guys,
Good to see you again, man.
you as well. You as well. Yeah, and I will echo John. Congratulations on an awesome week, and appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk about what we're doing and be a part of following John from IMSA seems pretty surreal. So it's very
Yeah.
cool.
Well, I think what you're pulling off is pretty surreal. You're bringing energy to our business, and you're creating categories of engagement and audience development that were absent before you showed up.
Yeah, but thank you. I mean, that's the simple, kind of the simple mission statement is automotive inclusion, but really it's motorsports inclusion. And what started as kind of just building an event that I wanted to attend with the things that I was doing, certainly has snowballed and become this boulder rolling down a hill, that surpassed, all of our goals, so, it's really awesome to be, part of the industry, and again, kind of in the same breath and on the same conference as, the people we admire and the series that we look up to.
Yes, and well, I think you're the buzz. People want to know what you're doing and how you do it. We talked about it a bit last year, and
Yeah.
I think that one of the things I never assume is that we have exactly the same audience that's going to see this. This lives on, and people are going to be watching this months from now on YouTube and social media. So I always like to give a chance for you to kind of recap quickly how GRIDLIFE came to be, the timeline, and how you all came together to create this and your backgrounds. Just give us a 2 or 3 minute tour of the glorious road to GRIDLIFE.
Yeah, I've worked really hard to synopsize this because it can get a little rambly, but effectively, I was into cars through Fast and Furious era. Like I grew up kind of around cars, but it's not like I wasn't building cars with my dad or going doing things like that. My uncles were into NASCAR. I went to NASCAR races with them, and I think that was probably like the introduction to motorsports, and that was the introduction to cars as well. So not being into cars and transitioning into motorsports was the thing that I was into. And then as I started to get my own car, ended up with in the Honda fanboy category. I owned a CRX, started modifying it, but just within that era of a custom car boom, first Fast and Furious, all the publications. And then at some point, my group of friends, we transitioned or started to become more interested in like the Japanese, touring car, kind of focus of it, and road racing and things like that. And then did a couple of track days. This is back 2001, 2002. Did a couple of events with one make sanctioning bodies showing up in my CRX, and not that those were bad experiences, but it certainly there wasn't a community that was mine. I was like entering someone else's community, trying to be a part of motorsports. And then we found out that you could rent a racetrack. So all of our friends, we found out you could rent Gingerman Raceway, and we were doing like these parking lot meetups called the West Michigan Honda Meet at that time. So they were like little picnic gatherings and parking events, and and then we found out you could rent this racetrack. So we pooled all of our money together, all of the friends within the little car clique, and we rented Gingerman Raceway on a Monday in 2004. So that was really the beginning of me as a promoter, although I certainly didn't, set out to be at that time. We were just trying to do cool car stuff with our friends. We rented that racetrack, and this is me and Adam Jabay, which is the co-founder and the individual that I produced every single event that we've ever done together. And just to backtrack, the way that we met, because it's an interesting story, is we were I was leaving a concert that he happened to be at, and I saw this lowered white Civic in the parking lot, and I left a note on that car and said, "Do you need any parts?" And then that was Adam Jabay. He called me. It's just so happened that he needed some parts, and that's how we met. And 20 years later, now we're doing GRIDLIFE together. But But yeah, the real spark of it was that one Monday that we rented, and we ended up producing an event for our friends. And that just kind of organically grew, right? So we did that event on a Monday the next day, which happened to fall, I think, on the 5th of July. So everybody like had the day off. So it ended up being like a big camping event. Everyone came on Sunday and camped, and then we extended that to a weekend. That just kind of grew organically. And then when GRIDLIFE came to be, my background, I was a creative director, worked in advertising. So I was like thinking strategically and putting, different things together and thinking about brands and like how to get people into things, whether it be a laptop, or I worked on Harley Davidson, or how to get people on a Harley or whatever. So just that type of thinking, and kind of looking at, this is 2014 when GRIDLIFE was officially founded. I was just looking at like all of my friends and being like, hey, like I'm at the racetrack. That's my segment. And I've got these drift friends that are over here. They're at a different track. I've got all these other people who are into cars that never come to my racetrack. Like, how do I get all these people together? And just so happens, like, I'm also super into music and festivals. I'm a big Fish head. I've seen Fish 235 times. I've been to thousands and thousands of concerts. Was lucky to see the Grateful Dead, in high school. So when it comes to like community building and thinking about, those are like cult like musical experiences, kind of looking at that a little bit as the glue. Like why is Bonnaroo such a great experience? Why do people like me go to 200 of the same, concerts of the same band? Like, what are these things that like bring all that stuff together? And really that's like experience and community. So like that more or less became the glue and the driving force for everything. That almost 10 years later, here we are. So
here
like
you are. Yeah. But the thing that's interesting about it is that the common thread is connection and emotion and experience.
Yes.
It's not about a thing. It's not about a place as the ultimate destination. It's building community and having an experience. From what I can see, that is the shared experience that is just amplified by who you're with. It's curated, and
that's right. It's bringing like building gravity. That happens to have like motorsports as the beating heart of it. But like, why do we have so many people that like feverishly travel, all over the country to go to the racetrack so they can be with their friends and be in a place that they love to be at. And then the more people we can show that exists by like adding experience and bringing them in. Hopefully that builds sustainmarkability and builds, more vibes, so to speak.
Yeah, well, that seems to be what you're doing. And this year was marked a departure from your tried and true format of GRIDLIFE. You had Circuit Legends.
Yes.
Which is a new offering, a new way of looking at what you do at Lime Rock. And we're creative services agency supporting Lime Rock. So we heard a lot about this as it was coming up. They're one of our clients. Do you want to talk about that event and what brought that on?
So Lime Rock. Just to talk about Lime Rock, the team over there and the facility itself, and just kind of the things that they're doing. Like we've never felt like I don't want to say never, but it's such a strong partnership that we've developed, and a friendship, and we're all kind of walking on the same path, and it's been awesome. And the Circuit Legends event, like the way that kind of came to be is we got an introduction through our friends at FCP Euro, who are our partners on the facility, and they're like, hey, we might have an opportunity for a date at Lime Rock, we were out there like meeting with them. So we like sliced off the second half of the day to go and meet with the folks over at Lime Rock. So, we headed over there, and I think immediately, when I had never been to Lime Rock before. So it's like also one of those facilities where you like feel this, this magic, when you step on site, and I think us being in the industry and being into motorsports, you probably feel some magic at every racetrack you go to. But there's certain tracks where like it like hits you in the soul, and that's one of those places. So like Adam and I walked on, we're like, wow, and like immediately our heads start running. We're like, oh my God, like look, you could do this here and you could do this over here. And like, I'm like thinking about like, this visualization of like how an event comes together, is all happening in real time, like basically as I'm like walking into this meeting, and then I sit down with all this energy and just talk about what GRIDLIFE does, what our intentions are, where our passions are at, and it really clicked with everyone that was over there. So I think we left that meeting feeling really good about the Discord and about the opportunity. A few back and forths, led to us getting a pretty solid date, in August. And then, it was off to the races trying to build that event. And the concept for it, when we looked at it strategically, we're thinking about, okay, like there's this gorgeous facility, kind of right in the middle of this population density, with all this history. And there's a whole bunch of our peers that like don't really even know it's there. Like have never traveled to it. They might not even know about sports car racing or grassroots motorsports. So like that's step one, but step two is like, look at this resource that's like, 2 hours from so many of these individuals. And, when we thought about the concept for that event, we're like, as we want to like kind of build something that like services the facility, and speaks to that grandeur, and how special it is, how do we do that? So we were thinking about like concourse events and like, car week and things like that, which have this like sheen and this shine, and feel like they've got all this majesty. But a lot of that stuff like doesn't I think those events are cool, but they're not for me. They like kind of go over my head, and now they're starting to get some of the vehicles, as people like me become collectors or, have the means to like get the cars that we want, now Japanese cars and some of those Fast and Furious era cars are becoming, a part of those showcases. But what we really wanted to build was something that like had that kind of layer and level of being special, like a concours event, but do it for our generation, and us. So we've been like jokingly called it, this is the black tie-dye concourse, just giving a little bit more of like, kind of this high fives feel and keeping it accessible, and we, really great working with the team at Lime Rock. And the motorsports side of it was never really like a struggle to get going, just because we have such fanfare around all of our on-track participants. So I think as soon as that went, as soon as it was announced, everyone was stoked. As soon as it went on sale, we were able to fill that field really quickly. But the other half was the bigger challenge, so, and we ended up partnering with this group called Prime out of New York to help us curate the concourse piece. And then this gentleman, Justin Ossemer from Turn-In Point, he's out of Seattle, used to be with Forza. And with those two groups, we helped put together and curate this concourse piece. And basically it was like back to ground pounding. Like talking to people directly and sending people messages and being like, hey, we're doing this cool thing. You got to get out here. We want to do something. We're trying to do something special. Like, here you go. Like, this is what we're doing. So there's a lot of like proving, like it was a lot more conversations than we've had to do. That's the way we built, the first GRIDLIFE back in 2014 was just a lot of like, talking to people and like telling them, but I mean, it was like back to that tactic, and then I think, even going like 2 weeks into it, we're like, it ended up being like I think everything this year, music festival industry will attest to this. Like everything this last year was late ticket sales, late adoption, so I know all the festival people that I know, all the producers, everyone who owns the venue was feeling that, that type of thing, which might be associated with the demo that we go after, like a little bit of a delay. So, I think 3 weeks out, we're like, this is going to be good, but like, I hope it's great. And then, come the weather report, week and a half out, things just started to like snowball, and then we ended up with like I don't know, like I describe that as like that event felt like everything that I've been doing for the last 20 years, like just pointed to that. And it was almost like perfect magic. Like it was such a great weekend, you know, and the thing about it was like, it felt like it stood up on like, and everything was just so authentic about the way it came together and the way that it felt, you know, and not that like other events don't, you know, but like it didn't, we didn't really have to force anything. We just like put the pieces in place and said, hey, you know, like we're going to build this event that we want to build, you know, and then the gravity like kind of, you know, manifested. And that was super cool. And, you know, I think one of the things that taught us, you know, that weekend in particular, which is affecting, you know, it's directly affecting kind of our strategic march forward, is that, you know, that experience matters and the people matter, and we can build these communities in a lot of places. You know, so like, let's do that, you know, so like that's kind of like setting up our march for this year, which is really trying to like, make our customer experience and the spectator experience consistent across everything that we do.
Well, like, again, the thing I think that you have ambition and big vision for when you create something, you do understand where you're going with what you're creating. I find oftentimes in a pure motorsports environment, we back into some of the things that you're doing intentionally.
Sure.
It's almost a consequence of needing something to justify what you're doing.
Right.
You know, what's interesting about this is actually the heart of what you're doing, and I want to thank you for doing something. You're using the word gravity, which I use a lot to describe things. So I want my racer team to know I'm not the only one that uses the word.
Yeah,
gravity.
I mean, I use that term. I have a few like phrases that I use. Like I say I'm not allergic to all the time, and I say things like, oh, building gravity, you know, and but that's really what it is, right? It's just like you're doing something with, I mean, it's not always the best decisions from a full pure business perspective, but like from a passion perspective, you know, you're building something that like creates its own energy, you know, and attracts people for the right reasons. You know, and you end up with like I don't know, like a little bit different type of experience, which isn't easily measured. Like we talk about like, oh man, the you know, what a great vibe or what a great feeling. You can't really like put that on a graph.
You can't.
you know, so
yeah, but the fact that you're aiming for that, and that's actually the thing, it's not even a thing, it's this kind of emotionally driven connection is really important, because, you know, for example, when I go to Lime Rock, I feel something very different than when I go to most racetracks, just as I do when I go to Laguna Seca. You know, Lime Rock, I feel the original spirit and soul of the sport when I go there. It's still there. Most of racing is turned into a race factory where they're making things that start at a certain time and end at a certain time, and they're like widgets.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to fit widgets into Lime Rock, for example, because there's so much other stuff you feel when you're there. Sense of place, but you also there's an echo of what it means no matter what you're doing there. You can be walking through an empty paddock and you feel it.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, and I
felt this, you know, pursuit of meaning. You know, coming from your discipline as a creative director, you know, I have a similar background, so you're always trying to orient to the meaning, intuitive meaning of something as a place that really is leverageable. When you look at the intuitive meaning of what grid life represents within the landscape of motorsport, you know, what is your ultimate positioning? When you think about what's your contrast point, but what is your ultimate intuitive positioning?
I mean, I think it still goes back to like our mission statement, which is motorsports inclusion. I mean, you can that's two words, but like you can unpack that into a lot of different things, right? So like, I mean, our goal is to you know, be a part of the fabric of motorsports in a positive way. You know, and I talked, you know, talking with our friends at the SCCA and things like that, we make mention of like building ovens instead of slicing pies, and I think like that's an important thing, like obviously we're running our own business and we have to think about our sustainability too, but like we try to be like considerate of all the bits and pieces, and I think, Adam and I, talk about this quite frequently, especially when things get challenging, it's like, well, what's it for? Like really it's, we love club racing, in particular, and we love club racing with the cars that we love, so it's kind of like sits in this middle, right? Like, it's not these super unattainable, like extremely fast cars, and it's not the bottom end, it's like right in the middle, so I think, as we think about, we want to bring more people into the hobby, or build more awareness for the hobby, and ultimately like that's going to create those authentic individual, like authenticity throughout the fan base, hopefully that radiates out to the rest of motorsports, so it's kind of like edutainment a little bit, trying to bring context to like, hey, this is a thing that we love, like this hobby, and building these cars or racing these cars or being around these cars, how do we show that to more people, which was the original reason why we like add, like big parties at the end of the Saturday night, and things of that nature. So like we talk about the term car curiosity quite frequently, and it's like, the ideal individual to become, a grid lifer, or a fan of grid life is someone who has just a little bit of car curiosity, even if they're into something else. Right. So, and we can use music as the hook or gaming as the hook, or, whatever the case, camping as the hook, and if they've got like a little bit of car curiosity, hopefully we can expand that and turn it into automotive enthusiasm. Like that's the ideal play, and then they become a part of our community and hopefully a part of the broader community, as a whole.
And well, obviously that's working.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Makes sense.
Just as someone that has been in this business since, I was a high school age teenager when I first found this, and there was a cultural gravity to it then. It was cool, and it was a little bit outlaw. It was just a different thing than what I thought the rest of the world was doing. So it felt exciting to be around it. But one of the things that I noticed as I progressed through it is that I was still the youngest person in many rooms 30 years on.
Sure.
And that was a little alarming, as you can imagine, Mike. It started to alarm me as things progressed. And what we've seen recently is this surge of young people. We can see it in the digital metrics that we have. Last year, it's been a significant shift in audience age. And the gender balance is shifting by several points as well, but it was profound during the month of May in 2021 when Toronto Autosport was racing at Indy. We saw a big change in the composition of female audience, but what we're seeing though is this sustained influx. The fastest growing audience segments are 18 to 24, 25 to 34, pretty consistently. Is there an ambient curiosity about motorsports now that's building, or is it just something we're only seeing because we're down in this niche?
I think, it is a little bit hard to peek through the weeds and see what's really happening outside of the industry, but like we've been making like references, just when, I remember when like F1 announced Vegas, and we're like, if it's good for, if F1 does good, we do good. And that's the top of all things, right? So like the more awareness around stories, narratives, the people, the culture, the context, the way the sport runs at all levels, theoretically helps everybody, and that's like, one of the things that we've like talked about strategically. We haven't theoretically leaned into that with olive branches formally just yet, mostly because we're busy and in
stuff to do.
Yeah, like in our own way. But I think the idea of stronger together, as motorsports as a whole, and motorsports, us individuals within it, and promoters. I mean, we're all, a lot of us are racers, so there's a lot of competition, inherently built into everybody when they look at the landscape too. But I think that the general sense is that everyone's chipping away at the same rock here. Everybody's talking about younger demos. We want to get more people in. So I think what we're seeing, potentially, is just the fact that all of us are swinging the hammer towards that effort in different ways, and it might be starting to come to fruition. And I think the large efforts, all the way at the top with Netflix and F1 and what they're doing to kind of change the shape of that demo is, ultimately going to help motorsports as a whole, and the things that John was referencing in the about IMSA and kind of the focus of that, all these things together, we're all assisting each other in our marches, whether we intend to or not, directly. So I think that's great, and we keep at it, then the goal of motorsports inclusion and the next generation, hopefully, becomes less and less of a concern.
Yes, and I appreciate what you and Adam have done here. You had me at hello when I met you.
Same.
I thought these guys are trouble in a good way. They're going to do what they say they're going to do, and really aspire to do it very well, and you continue to do that. And I save the date. I hope we can catch up next year too, to find out where you're at, and the growth and evolution of GRIDLIFE.
No, I love being a part of this, and thanks for the invite and including me. It's really an honor.
Chris, whenever I see you, I always think of John Kilroy, who was part of us at ePartrade and at PRI. He came into my office talking about you and thinking you just had the coolest concept, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah, it's always good to to hear that from other peers in the industry, because we get really heads down, and we think about our own things and our own struggles and our own ambitions and things like that. So being a part of this conference and and having you guys hear our story is really beneficial, for us. So
yeah, it is for us too. We learn a lot, and your story keeps evolving, which is the most exciting and interesting thing about it. Well done on Circuit Legends, and go create the world the rest of us are going to live in.
Yeah, we're trying hard, that's for sure.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much.
Registering on ePartrade is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to ePartrade.